Yeah, the movie opens, the studio fanfares have this weird desaturated blue, so right away, you're disoriented by this world. Why does it look like this? Why is everything washed out? Why is there this ultraviolet light on everything? When I was a teenager, I assumed I just had a bad Blu-ray. But yeah, I mean, what do you think they're trying to say with the way it looks?
Well, it's supposed to look like a precog site, right? Like this might be the studio in the future. I guess they're just trying to say that perception is the point of this movie. Even
for the stuff that's not the precog visions, everything kind of looks hyper strange.
Because like, what is reality? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess. I don't fucking know. You got thoughts?
I think that it's trying to make you feel disoriented. Things look simultaneously familiar, but just off. Mm-hmm. Like this first scene where we're getting the vision of the murder happening in like a house that is, classical. I don't know what the architecture is, not brownstone, but something like that. And so
Tudor. Something like that.
Yeah, something like that. And on the street, it's like a cobblestone street, and there's mounted cops and everything.
Yeah, well, but they look like none. I've never seen one on a neighborhood street, so maybe this is more of like a thoroughfare kind of street. You just don't know that, so it's jarring. You almost think there's going to be these weird, whimsical things you don't expect, or kind of spooky things you don't expect throughout the movie. But then you're like, okay, no one's freaked out by these. This is just cops on horse. It's fine.
But so much of this movie, I mean, especially as I watched it the second time,
isn't that wild that there are both still cops on the street and the kind of highway and car system that they show? Mm-hmm. How those two things exist at the same time is very bizarre to me.
Specifically, they're cops on horses.
Which is like the oldest form, or maybe there just aren't like regular chill patrolling cars. So because they cut out that middle car, that regular car we're all used to, they just have this kind of car.
No, see, I assume the horses is like specific to this neighborhood. That's the charm of this historical area. Yeah. It's like this weird, I'm paying to.
I don't think like Colonial Williamsburg or something. I don't think every neighborhood's got horses. This is clearly like an upscale place. Mm-hmm. It just made me think of like DC or something. But anyway, just as like what?
It's disorienting. It's all. You're thrown in this world that's deep in the future, and there's a lot of futuristic things. But then there's stuff that looks very familiar, and like it could be from the present or even the past. But something's a little bit off. And this is just a super heavily policed world of this movie, starting with these cops on horses. And when I watched it a second time, I was thinking like, what must have happened in the world that led to such like over both from the government and from corporations with the targeting of the ads and the facial recognition and the optical recognition everywhere, the amount of intrusion of our privacy that people have allowed in this world.
What year was this made?
2002.
So 9/11.
It was made before 9/11.
Damn. Tom Cruise's kid gets taken from a pool. That's what happened. You don't fuck
That's
with Tom
where
Cruise.
It all starts?
You don't fuck with Tom Cruise.
No.
It's literally where it starts.
Yeah. So this is all revealed to be a vision in the head of Agatha, who goes, murder. And then a ball comes down a mousetrap tube, and we see it's a murder. And then we meet Tom Cruise as John Anderton. And an on-screen title says the year is the year 2054. And I love that.
Do you? I appreciate that they haven't altered clothes all that much, because that's where they always go way too far. Like get rid of denim, get rid of things that have been going in and out of fashion and coming right back for years and years. Like, so I'm glad they're not wearing like space shit and all Velcro.
What don't you love? I mean, I just mean I love the phrasing the year : 2054.
Oh, sorry. I didn't know you literally meant punctuation was getting you.
It was
super hot. No, I meant that I wish it were a little bit further, because even when they made this, it doesn't seem like a far enough jump into the future to really get kind of crazy, especially if you know you're going to change things like infrastructure of highways. When it takes 3 years to fix a pothole on a street, it does. Who is funding this? It just takes me out of it. I need maybe one more 100 of years or 50 more, maybe just 50 more, 30 more. Give me something.
We already talked about this though. Like in 1952, the world looked so different. Like they would have shuddered at the way cities looked in 2002.
All right, fine. But
Especially
so much physics has to change for cars for this to be. It just really does feel the interstate and the car part feels like it's from a different movie. It feels like Fifth Element or something. That's much more further in the future.
I agree. I don't mind it because I think it looks cool, and but it's like this movie is the rare movie about the future that seems uncanny in things it predicts, almost like it's a precog with targeted advertising, with optical recognition, with this iPad or with the touchscreen that Tom Cruise is so good at manipulating with pinch to zoom and
flat screen television, and monitored calls, like a Zoom call situation, for people who don't need to be right in the room. They could have just as easily brought in two bureaucrats to come in and like witness the way these two bureaucrats on the wall are made to do. Mm-hmm. But they're like, you know what? No, you're doing this like every 5 minutes. Can you just like have a little red light and I'll be in there. I'll get on the Zoom.
I love that Tom Cruise and, whoever plays these two witnesses, one of whom is apparently the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, but they're all playing it like they've done this so many times.
Right.
Tom Cruise is so good at acting like that. Because he's still got that confidence drive to just talk really fast. Good morning.
Right. Then we get to it. Mm-hmm. But this is and I think I pointed this out a little while ago, but this is the second movie to get the orientation of a flat screen TV wrong and to think of it as portrait rather than landscape. So these people literally look like framed pictures of themselves on the wall rather than...
It makes more sense, though.
It doesn't. Whenever you go to the movie theater, that panoramic look is already there. It makes sense to keep going. Like, where's the rest of the story, Matt? Is it underground and in the sky? No, the rest of the story, if I want to see more, I need to open it up like this so I can see what is happening here. We live horizontally. We don't live vertically.
For faces, I think it does make more sense. Make them more like a portrait. But fine. The other thing that they can't fathom is like they have all this ability to predict the future technology, but obviously we'd still have physical discs. If you want to put a different file on your computer, you need to physically insert a disc. If you want to watch a different video,
it's a big credit card machine.
Yeah.
And I think that maybe the makers of Windex had something to do with the future because they want everything to need to be cleaned every day. Look at the glass on this. It would just be full of fucking grease and...
That would be the true miracle of innovation is if we can get a glass that you don't have to clean.
Like, you just got like some grunt whose job it is to Windex every day and they accidentally like send a murder ball down the thing. And
So, I mean... I guess just big picture, what do you think of Tom Cruise in this movie?
I think he's great in every movie. Honestly.
Have we not covered Interview with a Vampire? Have we not covered a Tom Cruise movie since then?
You're not asking the right person.
I'm thinking.
Okay.
But I guess, you're generally very positive on him as an actor and a movie star.
Yes. And his particular flavor of weird outside of the movies doesn't offend me.
We actually like it.
Gives it a little. Wonder what he's gonna do. I think of him more as a victim outside of this than I just like his work ethic. Like how hard he goes on himself. I don't think everyone should do this, but I think it's interesting about him the way that he insists on doing everything himself.
I don't remember who said this. Sorry, I'm sure I heard it on another movie podcast that their theory is that Tom Cruise is not allowed to leave Scientology, so he's trying to kill himself via stunts.
Right. Well, and then I was reading part of the Spielberg biography, and they mentioned that very early on in his career, Spielberg promised to be the director of a project of this guy who gave him a break, as long as he wasn't already committed to doing something else. And I'm like, that's why Spielberg has just been layering pride. He does not want to go do that free thing for that fucking hack. I don't remember who it was for. It was just some guy that gave him a break like way early.
No, that guy's probably been dead for 30 years, but he won't. He's like, no, any moment that guy can come for me.
Because now it's his son and he's really a piece of shit. I don't know. Yeah. Right. I think Tom Cruise just doesn't want to be asked by, what is the name? Malkovich?
Miscavige.
Miscavige. Like, can you come do the 40th? I'm promoting Scientology by making this.
No, it's good for the church if I make all these movies. Yes.
You handle that awards show and birthday thing so good. You don't need me anymore.
Allegedly.
Use my hologram. That'll be fun.
We have to be, how I gushed so much on the Jurassic Park episode about how how they give the exposition about this world. I mean, this movie is like 15 times more complicated, and they have to dump it all out on you right now, and it's done so beautifully. You're not you're not confused by this movie and the way all of this stuff works, even when it's dumb that there's balls.
It truly is. And then they go explaining why, and it's like, okay, except for you're using a machine to make those balls, and a wood whittler just does the same pattern over and over again. Okay. Sorry, I'm not explaining.
We make these balls because they're cinematic, you see.
Well, they said they're like a thumbprint. Every ball is unique. And then we etch their name on these balls. Like, people don't share the same name all the fucking time, especially people named John.
Plus, it's not like there's ever a scene where the ball is very closely examined. Like, did anyone futz with this ball?
What?
Well, they don't want these balls to be tampered with, but doesn't ever seem like that's an actual issue that they're concerned with.
Did this movie predict in and out and core emotions and stuff? That is something. As soon as I saw the ball rolling and it being important, I was like, that makes me think of In and Out. In and Out, I do this every time.
I knew what you meant.
What do I mean?
Inside Out.
Thank God. Okay.
So, like all TV shows that have their pilot episodes centered on a character coming to work at a new job for the first time ever, like Peggy Olson in the first episode of Mad Men. Now we have Danny Whitwer, Colin Farrell, who has to be, he's as they say, a twink from the Fed, show up.
Do they say that?
Tom Cruise says it.
Did twink not mean the same thing?
The twink, I think it means what it means.
Okay, got it.
And he comes in and they have to, give him the tour and explain everything. And, I guess when this movie came out, and I really liked this movie, but I was like very much, I hate Colin Farrell at the time because he felt like he was being shoved down our throats. He's in every movie. They want us to think it is the great new movie star.
Yeah, I never bought into him either. And then they do another very smart thing of needing explanation even for the pros, because later in the movie, Colin Farrell's character insists that they go into the precogs room, which none of them have ever even been in, these experts. So even they're being explained to once they get down there. They keep finding reasons why organically we get told the story. When you started talking about this topic, I was like, I can't even remember how they gave us the exposition, which means it was good.
Yeah. Yes, you're so right. But do you like Colin Farrell now?
Name something he's been in recently.
What, Banshees of Inisherin, The Lobster.
That's true.
I love him now, and I love him in this. I guess I was just.
There's something about his face. He's got a little bit of the little bitch in him. He's got a little. He's got a little Clooney. He's just a little too good looking.
But I even think that is intentional. I mean, I think
you think he's doing it
like Top Gun Maverick. Like the subtext is, all these young pilots are trying to be Tom Cruise, but nobody's Tom Cruise. I think this movie is like Colin Farrell's like a new Tom Cruise, and Tom Cruise is
Tom Cruise was still the new Tom Cruise.
Step aside.
He doesn't even have any wrinkles yet.
I know, but
still look like a baby.
You always have to. The factory must continue. You always have a new one coming down the line, and I think Danny Whitwer is supposed to be like I'm like kind of like a young John Anderton.
I'm on your heels.
But I really love his performance. I really loved it this time. I think my favorite scene in the movie is when he is explaining how he figured everything out to the person who ends up being the villain. So, we just see how he's like a very smart cop, and he's good at manipulating these images, and he can figure out where this murder's taking place because there's a merry-go-round in the background.
I will say that is the thing that took me out of it, that they just keep referring to Tom Cruise's character as a cop. What cop? What cop is this technologically savvy? And I mean, I understand. It's also interesting, right, that this is still a test period, a 6-year period, that they are trying this out just on the DC area exclusively, and then they will scale it. So since it's still in testing, they keep kind of having to retell you how that's been going, and its stats and differences between what it was before and after. So I get that they maybe don't have all the terminology they need for, if this goes forward, what do you call the role that Tom Cruise is in this movie? He very much seems like the only one that can really do it well. But cop, is his fucking title. That sounds crazy to me.
Well, he's still going out and making the arrest, which is like, you do not have to be doing that part.
Don't.
But I think he's like one of these people who's like, I cannot delegate. I have to make myself so indispensable. Yes. This whole organization is basically just me.
Well, because he's trying to forget his son. But that's also like, I don't even see how you scale this. They seem to, he's a detective more than he's a cop, because he is deciphering all these things. He also seems to be an expert of his surroundings. He knows these so this would have to be a hyper local profession, like one of these per major city. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't even seem like you could do it for every town. It seems like there would end up being these like poor places in these outskirts, and maybe criminals go there to do their murder, because how do you even cast a big enough net over the entire world? It seems like this would create more problems for less fortunate areas.
Yeah, as everything does.
Yeah, this couldn't be a more affluent place, because it's DC. Yeah, these are rich people that this is happening to. You just know people will find where the cogs cannot see.
Yeah. So because he insists on going on the raids himself, they drop into the place where Mr. Marks, what's his first name? Howard Marks is about to stab his wife with scissors. And then all the cops drop in from the ceiling in riot gear and stop him. And then say you're under arrest for the future murder of these people. And this guy, it's very sad. He seems so confused. And they're going to put the halo on him and put him into a whatever it is that happens to you.
Your life really ends.
So we get, like you said, that this is a test period, and we get a little ad, a very well done little propaganda ad about pre-crime and why pre-crime works.
Oh God, this ad. Can we just make a TikTok where we just play this ad as one of the like promos for this? It's just so perfect.
It really is.
The tone is just, yes.
He was gonna rape me. He was gonna stab me right here. Pre-crime. It works. Pre-crime works.
I mean, they really got targeted ads right, but they didn't get the way we'd receive them correct. I mean, we are always looking at a computer screen, so they're not wrong. We put them in front of our... That's what I mean. Mm-hmm. So I think where this movie didn't know is that we would voluntarily put the ads in our face the whole day. They didn't need to stick them in every possible structure that you walk through on your day-to-day. I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself, but like the advertising in this movie is stressful. Mm-hmm.
But and it's, you can't escape it. I love the billboard, the digital billboard with the man in sunglasses is just being suspended by a crane.
Yeah.
So like if you live in this building, you're not going to be able to escape this. They're going to put it in front of your window at various times throughout the day. But
love, don't you think they're just bringing the crane to its resting place?
No, they move it around.
Come on.
They move it around. That's part of the vision, is that it moves throughout the vision.
Okay, I need to read.
That it seems so sinister. That seems so sinister to me.
That is wild. Like, we can sense that eyeballs have opened at this house and this house, because the eyes are everything in this movie. Yeah. They can tell everything. It's like eyeball sensors, moving screen.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. This movie's so, if it's about anything else, it's about a lot of things, but surveillance, and the precogs are their own form of surveillance. But the government is surveilling, and just the tools of capital are surveilling you at all times. And yeah, not like science fiction. Some science fiction knew about the internet and predicted the internet, but they didn't predict that we mainly live virtually on our phones and our computers, right. And the ads follow us around the internet because they're all just linked, basically.
Right.
But I 100% believe that physical world targeted advertising is coming.
So tell me if this is your experience too, but the most stressful part is when is he walking through a mall? Mm-hmm. And it reminds me of when you walk through the perfume and how there are 2 or 3 people that'll catch you and say, they want to spray you, the sprayers. That used to be a thing much more in the past. The perfume section was specifically intrusive, sensory wise, and with people asking you questions. You just had to like kind of fucking get through it.
Yeah.
And there's a moment where he's in the shopping mall, like, hello, John. Nice to see you. John, you want to look like this? John, are you hungry? John, like everything is this personalized ad selling whatever it is that thing is selling. It is. And he's running. So he's getting them really fast, faster than most people.
Mr. Yakamoto, how did those tank tops work out for you?
Right. It's like, oh, actually, this is smart. And it's overwhelming because they won't get right how to limit it, how to space it out. And it's just going to be like, well, everyone else is doing it. Guess Jeans is going to need one of these thingies and everyone else.
And there'll be like some data people who are like, there's so much potential profit to be had from doing super targeted advertising at our previous customers. So when they walk in, we need to remind them of purchases they made in the past and be very loud about it.
But also get really excited about people that have never been in their store because they can be like, first time shoppers get 15% off. We're so excited to meet you.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. They'll give you the 15% off. Fuck.
They'll find you right away. Or like in your 18th birthday when you can start. I don't know when you're allowed to give coupons to kids. I guess as long as they're buying stuff, doesn't matter how old they are, right?
Yeah.
But isn't that weird for a targeted ad to be talking to our kid while we're walking through a place? Doesn't seem weird? There'd have to be age. I'm sorry. This movie sends me down so many rabbit holes of thought experiments, which I love thought experiments, but I have a feeling I'm being very annoying to the people listening. Let's try to stick to the plot. I'm sorry.
Okay. We'll try.
I'm sorry.
Where were we? Okay. The commercial. But this is playing in the shitty part of town as Tom Cruise jogs through to go meet his heroin dealer.
That was another thing they got right. Is they kind of look like little vapes.
They do. They're little pods.
Yeah, these little.
They're so well designed.
I love the way they think of drugs in the future.
I love the way Tom Cruise, he's just such a good actor with handling little objects. Like he's shaking a Neuroin pod a billion times. He's like just shaking it to hear if it sounds right. Does it to each one he gets. Shake.
I didn't even notice.
And then he goes back to his home, which is voice activated with lights and music. What they didn't know is everyone has voice activation now, but we all fucking hate it.
Right. We're not super excited to see Alexa. She's like, shut up. I'll turn on my own fucking light.
With the targeted ads, I'm going to get off track again. Our son needs the Roku home screen on at all times. We can't turn the TV off. Even if he's not watching TV, he wants that Roku home screen on. But
specifically the one that they use or have used in the past in the winter. He wants the snow one.
He calls it Christmas. But Roku, those sons of bitches, will sometimes force a different theme in that's an ad for something else. Like, this is our Taylor Swift Eras Tour pack.
Right.
And he gets upset and shouts, Christmas! And it feels like such an intrusion that they do that to us.
Yes. And one day I'm worried Christmas will not even be an option in the like, you can go into settings and reset whatever you want.
Yeah.
But one day that one might not be there.
Yeah, they can just delete it or they'll change it.
It's their fucking hardware and software.
And who do we have to write to fix that?
I feel like we have bought so many Rokus. Can we please own it's got to be like when you buy it, you get the OG shit and they can add new stuff, but you get to keep your old stuff.
This is the problem with outsourcing our lives to these unaccountable companies and getting used to their shit. We need to figure out how to take like a very high fidelity screenshot of the TV so we can
the movement matters.
Oh yeah. Well, a video.
Yeah. Please do that like this week.
Okay.
I'm stressed all of a sudden.
Anderton goes into his apartment. The lights come on. It's just vape pods and cereal and pistachio nuts everywhere. And he gets high and watches footage of his old son, Sean, while eating dry cereal from a box. His young son, Sean. A box of cereal called Pine and Oats. The box of cereal is animated. And the person who did the animation for Pine and Oats is the same guy, Bob Kurtz is his name, who did the Mr. DNA animation.
Oh.
When I was reading about Bob Kurtz, I saw he did animation in Minority Report. Where is there animation in Minority Report? It said, parentheses, Pine and Oats. I was like, what the fuck is that? But I found it. It's this cereal box. And just because I love finding animation in live action movies, especially hand-drawn animation, because animation is so fucking hard to do and so expensive and takes forever, that whenever it happens in a movie, I'm like, I have to take note of this. And this only is on screen for 4 seconds. And then Tom Cruise forcibly throws it out of the movie. Mm-hmm. It must have been so sad for the people who worked on that animation.
Okay.
So he's watching this footage of his deceased son, Sean, and he's getting high while he does it. And then he watches footage of his
sweet video of him telling him he loves him, or, just very, very chill moment. Nothing. You can tell he does this every night.
Mm-hmm.
And then he, like you were going to say, then watches a video of his wife. Did you assume she was dead too? I mean, the kid is, but like they never tell you who's dead. They just that he had a loss. So then he goes to pull out the file and like very invasively watch like a private sexy moment between him and his wife, and kind of like almost interact with the projection a little bit. I'm thinking, okay, so she's dead. I makes sense. And then when I find out she's alive, I'm like, this feels intrusive.
I think it's like I wrote in my notes, this is like when you Facebook or Instagram stalk your ex. But they didn't have that back then.
I mean, I guess if you let anyone that you date take a video of you, they have it forever.
Yeah.
That feels wrong.
I bet that people seeing this for the first time assume she's dead too. And the dead wife and kid is like
it's
such a
trope. Yeah.
Cop cliche, but and having the dead kid, and that's why he does it. It's very basic, like with Alan Grant and his opinions about kids. But I think unlike other movies where the cop has a dead kid, the cop's dead kid plays a role in the plot of this movie, and a very central role. So it's not just thematic and character.
Because and I don't know if I can think of another movie that does this off the top of my head. Very importantly, his kid went missing. Like, there is no body there. I don't know that there was a funeral. It's a crowded pool area, and 1 second he's there, the next he's not. And it takes so long for you to like accept in that moment that you should stop looking. Like I can't imagine ever stopping looking. Anyway.
It is the thing. More than anything that would cause you to just like spiral and just
be looking for him all the time, and there's no closure.
Yeah. And he doesn't get closure in the movie. He thinks he does, and then it's taken from him.
That's what I was going to say. That this is one of the only movies I can think of where that is not a part of
his journey.
Yeah.
I mean, the journey is he apparently has accepted it because he gets back together with his ex-wife, and they're making a new Sean, so they can forget about the old one. So now there's more business with Danny Whitmer, Colin Farrell, where we're learning more about pre-crime, but also he just raises the philosophical issues that this sort of thing implies. Namely that you're arresting people, you're prosecuting them for crimes they won't commit. It's a very reasonable objection. And, I mean, what do you think that pre-crime, at least as it's supposed to work in this movie, would that be worth having to stop murder?
Well, no. I think it's the same thing with any huge effort to fix a perceived problem, and to fix it this way seems really short-sighted. You're not helping anyone who finds themselves in a situation where murder is the solution for them. You're just haloing them, which just means you're killing them. But so that society doesn't have to feel bad about it, they're not technically dead. And I don't think this privilege would be something equally dispersed across the world. So no, I don't think there should be entire communities where you do not have to worry about murder anymore. I think you're creating more problems than you're solving, and really ugly ones.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that. But yeah, there's the things like in inner city neighborhoods, like murder or unsolved murder rate is like so much higher than.
Well, like I said, it attracts people who need to go do nefarious things because they know that those are blind spots. So the crime there spikes immeasurably. Mm-hmm. Because where else can you do it? Yeah.
So Colin Farrell says we're prosecuting people for crimes they haven't even committed yet. In like civil law, there's the idea that you have standing to sue if you have suffered an injury. If you have a dispute with somebody, but you can't prove that you've been monetarily affected or bodily affected, then even if you're correct, like there's nothing to sue over. And in criminal law, there's like the similar concept of like there has to be a harm done. So you're sort of upending the whole philosophy of law.
And doesn't there have to be a body? Like, isn't that literally a thing?
Does there have to be a body?
Yeah. Can you accuse someone of murder if you cannot find a body? I can't remember.
Yeah, of course.
You can?
Yeah. I mean, you have to have other forms of evidence.
Okay.
But you're taking away.
I think it's just a lot harder when there's not a body. But yeah, okay, there has to be.
And like the more I was thinking about this in the middle of the night, the more my head was spinning because like so like predictive algorithms are getting better and better and better. And it's just how creepy is it to think that they know so much about your future behavior. Everybody's always saying like, how does my phone know that I wanted this thing? Did it hear me talking? And actually it's just, you're that predictable. They have so much data about you that they can predict.
I hear what you're saying, but my phone doesn't predict shit. It just knows what I did last. You like socks? We got socks.
Yes, I know. But
yeah,
like,
I get you.
In terms of like a statistician could tell you everything you've ever done and probably everything you ever will do. And it would be so creepy and sad.
And like if you pull up to McDonald's, it can be like, want another double cheeseburger and a small fry like last time? Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. I do.
When you order with apps, it's so easy to just hit reorder.
Yeah.
So easy. But then like, you know, I wear a Fitbit all the time. It measures my heart rate. Well, what if these things get better and they're like, hey, we see that your heart rate combined with your blood pressure means that right now you're horny or right now you're thinking of doing something bad. Like, I just like think of the logical conclusion of that. And we're going to be judged for all sorts of just stuff that we have no control over. Like what? I don't know.
You sure are getting a little nervous over there.
The precogs see the future, but they don't seem to see a future wherein pre-crime exists. Like they're like these crimes always get prevented. Why don't they ever see a future where the crime gets prevented? And then the future that the pre-crime cops see should be affected by the very fact that they have seen it.
Don't do that. You're doing time travel shit right now?
Yeah.
Don't.
Okay.
It's always a lost cause when we try this.
I mean, tell us about the precogs.
Okay. So from my understanding, the precogs are the only success stories, quote unquote, from this experiment that I'm unsure of this woman. Is she a scientist or there's some botanist? I don't know. There's some woman who had access for some reason to kids born from pauper addicts, right? Heroin addicts. And maybe these are the first, I can't remember. I think these are the first 3 babies born in April.
No, there were many that died before them.
But how long do they live?
I don't remember. But this is kind of like, these are like little dinosaur babies in a way. They're trying all kinds of genetic manipulation and these babies are dying, but these are the ones that lived.
Okay, but their excuse is that these are coming from heroin addicts. They're not creating the addicts. And these babies would not have a safe home to go to if they did survive. If they do survive, they're going to have a lot of problems anyway. So like they're doing a service. They get to couch it as they're doing a service for these children. But really they're just trying to, they understand that these kids are special. And I think they all have this power of sight, I think. But I don't totally understand this part. But anyway, the twins are the 2 boys or 2 men that are in this floating water pod, and then there's one female, their sister, called Agatha. These are the only ones that have like lived to adulthood, and they have amazing powers of foresight. But you know, to keep them comfortable, they keep them kind of sedated, but they never get to fully go to sleep, and they never get to fully wake up. That sounds miserable. And they're floating in water the whole time. I think because it amplifies due to electricity and shit.
Yeah, all that.
It can't be because it makes them really comfortable. And how pruny would you be? They would just be so waterlogged.
Maybe that's what Wally, the temple guy, is constantly doing, is just like painting them with some sort of anti-pruning.
He's definitely right. There is a maintenance man in here who is very attached to them, especially the woman, who is just constantly giving them whatever it is that they need. I hope he's got someone who relieves him because I've only ever seen him. But theoretically, there are people who their whole job is just to, it just seems like hospice. It's just a body that's somewhere between life and death, and you're just cleaning it off every now and then and giving it medicine every now and then, and it's like a Tamagotchi. Like
John Anderton says, it's better if you don't think of them as human.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
It is better. Wouldn't that be nice?
Right away, what bothered me about this movie isn't everything we've talked about so far. It is about that, and I said this earlier, is it these 3 people's job to do this for all of society and have no kind of life, only a terrifying one, because all you ever see are murder and terrible things. and I know that it's like, well, but if it weren't for us, these people wouldn't have existed or lived past childhood, or, it's like, no, we did a service. But are they still trying to get more? Because these are just humans, right? So they'll have a human lifespan.
Yeah.
What happens when they die?
Yeah, I'm sure there's
this is the reality of the purge, because maybe there's just a huge spike in murder whenever they're in between precogs. Hopefully they're raising up new ones. They don't ever address this.
I'm sure they are. Yeah, I'm sure they have like a fucking farm where they're trying this. That's like the horrifying thing he stumbles on in an alternate cut, probably. Yeah. Agatha, Dash, and Arthur, named after mystery writers, Agatha Christie, Dashiell Hammett, Arthur Conan Doyle. And when Tom Cruise enters the temple, Agatha randomly wakes up and grabs him. It's pretty startling.
Yeah.
She says, "Do you see?" And then looks up at the screen on top, and we see a woman being drowned. And then Wally, the temple guy, runs in. He's like, "What are you doing? What are you doing to her?" And he's like, "Well, she grabbed me." He's like, "Impossible. She never grabs anyone. She'd grab me all the time if she could." But Agatha's like, "Holy shit, someone useful. I'll grab him." So then we meet Gideon, Tim Blake Nelson.
He's great.
He's in charge of all the people who have been haloed. And he plays the organ for them like Phantom of the Opera.
Again, this world only has one expert per job, but these people have to have lives and also not be there sometimes. So I don't know. It is just, to me, seems small. And I guess because it's only funded so much, but you could never do this responsibly. Not the haloing part. Also, is the haloing something they invented, or is that something that they do now for all people who commit crimes outside of this? Like, maybe this is not new. All right, just seems like a lot of resources and and just the how hard it is to write new laws and to write new regulations and stuff. It's just, this would never happen. Anyway, it looks like kind of like if Steve Jobs was in charge of the Matrix. Like, everything is white and beautifully packaged and everything looks fun, but it's just body people pods when they're hooked up to something. So yeah, the Matrix plus Steve Jobs.
Anderton wants to know about this vision that he just saw. He's like,
"Oh, sorry, I thought we were just talking about the room." Okay,
I'm trying to figure out, trying to make sense of what I just saw. Anne Lively, that's the name of this drowned woman. Can you show me her the guy who was going to kill her? So he does. Tim Blake Nelson plays Gideon, and he talks in this sort of countrified but Fred Gwynn in Pet Sematary.
Yes.
Voice is like, "What you doing down here, Chief?"
You sure you want to go messing with the undead? You might get back something weird.
He takes him down to this guy. It's a John Doe. Never did figure out who this man is.
Okay.
And Tom Cruise wants to extract some memories, because there's this thing like, okay, all of the three precogs produce their own vision, and we just sort of combine them all. But we also store their individual things, and he wants to take a look at her individual memory.
Because sometimes the woman does not agree.
Mm-hmm.
The guys always seem to agree, but Agatha is the one that's the truly powerful one, but she's outnumbered. So if she has a vision that's altered from what they go with the larger vote, which is them too, the guys.
See, I think this is also sort of a commentary on computers and algorithms. Like, no, they're not wrong. This is just data. We're just following the data. Data can't be wrong. But you still have people who are like making decisions like, but we're going to disregard this data.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. The regulations and protocols and stuff.
I mean, two of the three say this, so that's obviously what's correct. But her file has mysteriously been deleted, and Tom Cruise is like, well, let me just take that little disc. And Tim Blake Nelson's like, "Is it out, Chief? You go digging around the past, all you get is messy."
A little dead boy.
It's my favorite line in the movie. It's so good.
Okay, sorry.
Go digging around the past, all you get is messy.
It's dirty.
Fuck.
Yeah, you fucked it up.
All you get is dirty.
There you go.
Get that dirt on.
Okay, but this is when we learned that there's something called a minority report, and that is just the very few reports where all the precogs do not agree. It's called a minority report.
I think we learned about that when he goes to meet Lois Smith, the flower lady. The minority report.
Oh, I got you. Is like, it's such a cool name for a movie, but it's such a nothing thing in this movie. Like we just don't spend very much time giving a shit about what that is. And I never think he is one. I never assume that he's not going to kill anyone. That man looks capable of murder. And you know exactly what they're going to do to make him kill. It's going to have to do with your son, you crazy fucking drug addict.
The book, I mean, the short story, The Minority, is just called The Minority Report, and is very much about the Minority Report because it's like about this idea of certainty and knowledge.
Right.
And what ultimately happens is there's 3 precogs, and each of them produces a Minority Report. They don't agree. None of the 3 agrees on what happens because it's like one predicts the future as it would be. One predicts the future with Anderton having seen that he's going to kill this guy and decides, I'm not going to kill that guy. And then the third predicts the future based on the second. So it's like each time is different and affected by the other. It's very interesting. But this movie's like not interested in that. It's just a MacGuffin. It's just find the Minority Report, Chief Anderton. I will. Max Von Sydow, who we haven't mentioned, plays Lamar Burgess.
We skipped right over the fact that it drops a ball and says he's going to kill someone.
Not yet. No, because
he's running.
No, this.
Oh God, you're
this
right.
meeting with Max Von Sydow is what sets in motion him getting framed.
Wait. Yeah, fine. But you said the woman tells him what a Minority Report is.
That's late. No, because you said this scene with Tim Blake Nelson is where we learn about Minority Reports. And I said that's later.
This is just when he starts to understand for the very first time, and him being the utmost expert on this software, this machine, this thing. He's a maestro of this. He is determining people's lives based on his knowledge of what the precogs do and the machine or the software. And it's very disturbing to find out for the very first time that sometimes all the precogs do not agree. That seems like a big thing he should have at least known could happen, so he can factor that in to when visions aren't quite lining up correctly or whatever. So it's odd right away. And the relationship he has to the man that invented this, or I don't really understand his role. He seems like the father of it, this character. Yeah. What's his name?
Lamar Burgess, Max Von Sydow.
Okay. But he's got like a very almost too intimate relationship with the man who works for him. So it seems manipulative. Like, come here, as soon as he gets in trouble, just come here, my boy. It's like, what? You shouldn't be sticking your neck out like that. That's
why it's so great. That's why he's
very human.
Max Von Sydow is so good in this movie as a simultaneously cuddly old grandpa who is like fucking sly as a fox, and he's just one of these career bureaucrats who knows how to pull the levers of power.
Yes, and to get away, to manipulate. Like, he immediately takes him under his wing and Laura, and this is after the death of their child.
I see someone vulnerable.
Yes, and he has tentacles on them so much that even while they divorce and don't speak anymore, he brings up Laura. Laura's really worried. I think it's Lara, Laura.
Yeah,
okay.
But they say Laura.
Oh, okay. It's just like, I'm thinking, like, are they related? Why is he talking to her?
That's such a good point. Because I've always been like, wait, why is he... This timeline, I'm trying to figure out this timeline. They seem like they're like decades old family friends, but he's like, he came to work for me after Sean died.
Right.
But
if you'd only come 6 months earlier, I could have helped you.
But he's doing that. He's keeping a close tabs on both of them. He's staying in touch with the ex-wife. Why is he doing that?
Right. To manipulate the husband. Yep. To keep him needing to keep going forward with this project that is like the only thing this old man actually cares about.
And he later says, like, I'm old, people don't listen to me. They listen to you, Tom Cruise.
Right.
You're just my little mouthpiece. But and Anderton is like, never knew that there was a such thing as a Minority Report. I mean, how many stories are there about people working in the military or whatever? Like, I never questioned that. Wait a minute, we can drone strike an innocent wedding? Like, and had no idea. But he's kind of like a good soldier who's just going forward and doing.
But he instantly knows this doesn't make sense for me not to know it. I mean, I am always I'm him having to decipher very mushy images on a big screen and connecting the dots and looking for irregularity and fixing it if I do. The fact that he is not told about something that causes those irregularities is super suspicious.
It is.
It's not innocent. Not an innocent, like, this is a need to know situation. Like, there's 2 of us. I need to know.
And you don't. But because he found out about the Anne Lively thing, he runs to Lamar Burgess. He's like, Lamar, I learned about Anne Lively. What do you think?
Oh, no.
Over and over, people in this movie figure something out and then go to the bad guy and tell him, like, you'll help me, right?
So
yes,
nice.
yes, I will help you.
He has a mansion and he's so nice.
So while he's doing this, Colin Farrell goes into Tom Cruise's apartment and looks around at all the drugs. He's like, drugs. I knew it.
I'm a loser.
And he starts watching the footage of the dead son, Sean, and Colin Farrell is like delightfully evil as he says, Daddy's in a lot of trouble, Sean.
Jesus Christ. I'm going to put him in a halo right next to you. Daddy's home. There's no body. Wait, never mind. Can't do it.
That meeting with Max Von Sydow is what causes John to get framed for murder, because the next scene is him examining a murder and then suddenly seeing his face in the images, and then the ball comes down and says the perpetrator is John Anderton. And I love Tom Cruise is so good as he plays like the confusion, just confidently whipping around, pinching and zooming, and then suddenly sees his face. Wait, swipe, wait. And then the two witnesses are like, Chief Anderton, I don't know what I'm seeing on here. And he just swipes them away.
You know, something they did not get correct about screen activity in the future is how private we need to be about it. How we have screen protectors from people looking here or there. We certainly wouldn't have clear computers where you can see the image I'm looking at on I'm not going to look at porn while fucking downstairs fucking Ralph, who's patrolling the office at midnight, can see the backwards view of my sexy slutty ladies. Sorry, I said slut. Yeah, so idiots. The future's different.
So he has to run.
Okay.
He has to run. He's been accused of murder. Now the murder alarms are going off.
This is another thing similar to The Sixth Element, is because of the eye scanning, because there's no way to get away from the government, or, you know, people are trying to keep tabs on you. If you've committed a crime, they will just shut down your car, or they will take over your car and bring you back to custody. You know, your stuff is not your stuff. Mm-hmm. Not if you commit a crime or think you're going to.
But he jumps in his car. It gets turned off. So he gets out of that car and jumps into somebody else's car, and then jumps out of that car and into somebody's apartment. And then there's a foot chase, and then the cops on their jetpacks come down and chase him. But because he's the best in the world, he's able to escape all of them. So it's like that does happen. They do shut down his stuff.
Yeah, that's why I said it's just like The Fifth Element with how they shut down all of his stuff.
Oh, okay. What? I thought you seemed like you had your plot hole magnifying glass out.
No, I was just saying that's very similar. That it just like with the Roku. The Roku is our device. We bought it. We think it's ours. But
no, it's not yours. Yeah. So he goes into the subway. Cameron Diaz is on the subway. She makes a little cameo.
Oh, I didn't notice.
So is Cameron Crowe and Paul Thomas Anderson. They're also they had both previously directed Tom Cruise in movies. And there's just a lot of chasing here. It's really cool. You
got to use Tom Cruise's physicality. You can't have him in a movie and not let him do a bunch of stuff, you know?
And I feel like this movie, maybe because they talk so much about how he runs, your daddy likes to run. That maybe this is the beginning of people starting to point out, yeah, Tom Cruise is always running in movies, isn't he? Even he's in Jerry Maguire.
That posture while he runs, he is like 10 and 2. I know that's not the right phrasing, but that is a good looking runner. Why do you have, okay. So the slide Matt has in front of me so that we can talk about this woman who is also part of the Minority Report project. There's a moment where she kisses him for some fucking reason. And it's just, that's what you put. It's grossing me out. It's fine. So he's on the run. I do not know where he gets her name from or the location.
No, he knows who she is. She's Dr. Iris Henneman. She invented pre-crime along with Lamar Burgess, so he knows where she is.
Okay.
And earlier, Colin Farrell asked, well, can I interview her? And Tom Cruise is just doesn't answer her.
Okay.
There's almost like no, we don't really talk about her or talk to her.
Because she seems to kind of turned her back on, we see with her, she is definitely having trouble with the ethics of it all. She created something that got away from her, which is always the issue with creation. You can create it. You do not know what its future is. children. I remember, right? This is another part of what kind of movie is this when he jumps over the wall and giant man-eating plants like bite at him. Mm-hmm. It's like, what? Now fucking Tim Burton is directing this shit? What is happening? And then he goes in and it's a lady who's just wildly intelligent, but she's in her retirement. So she's decided to fuck with the genetics of plants instead of people.
Lois Smith, who I love in this one scene performance. But I watched it again and then started the scene over because, like, I'm still not sure what this character wants or believes. Like, the energy is kind of, I'm the Joker, and I'm just, whatever you think I'm going to do the opposite, which is why eventually she kisses him. But you said that she seems like she has some sort of ethical problems, and I think I thought that, but I can't really tell. I can't really tell what she believes. Does she think pre-crime is good? Does she think it's...
Well, if she believed in it, she would still be doing her role in raising up precogs to take the place of the ones, or to scale the project and bring precognition all over the place. She's not. She's clearly retired and moved on to something else that is interesting enough, which is manipulation of plants.
But does she think it's bad because of what it does to the precogs? Does she think it's bad for different reasons? Does she think it's bad for...
I would have to watch it again to figure that out, but my instinct was that she was attached to the children, and that she, I don't know, something about using kids and children this way or trying to help them was just too much, or God, I don't know.
She says this is where she tells him about the Minority Report. If you find that Minority Report, which no certainty that there actually is a Minority Report, but he just hears, he's like, oh, well, obviously there's going to be a Minority Report about me because I'm not going to kill.
If you told me right now I'm going to kill someone, I would be very hard for me to imagine my mental state when I feel totally me right now. I'd be sure too. Yeah,
and he says, like, I'm just going to avoid him. She says, but you don't know him. How can you avoid him if you don't know him? And good question.
Also, you're a very physical cop who has weapons, who can disarm someone or seriously injure someone with just your fucking hands. You've lost your child, you're divorced, and you're on drugs. So I think you are who kills. I think you are the kind of person who ends up shooting someone.
I'd never kill somebody. I'm a cop.
You don't know yourself, my man.
Yeah, find the Minority Report, Chief Anderson, and she kisses him.
He's so fucking important to himself that just trying to escape, he was totally cool with the destruction and like the fucking menacing things that happened as a result of the team chasing him. I mean, there's just so like bursting into houses and scaring people who did nothing. Mm-hmm. This is just them chasing someone else who's been reported on. Like the collateral damage, and these are not like wealthy places that they're chasing him around. This is just poor people trying to have their day. Right. It's like the high and mightiness of it all. Oh, we stop murder, but do you stop like
systemic poverty?
Do you stop the injustice and like, what am I trying to say? Do you actually because once murder is not on the table anymore, once you can't die from that, well, then it just moves to something else, right? They're not catching beatings. I mean, maybe if I live with an abusive man, I want him to just kill me, not just continue to beat me the rest of our relationship.
Well, it's a very specific kind of analysis of society, is that the biggest problem with society is murder. Is that somebody will find out that you cheated on them and then they'll kill you.
It's great.
And it's like, no, that's not like the 150th problem with society.
You already solved the one that's the biggest. It's automobile accidents. It looks great. You guys did it. You guys seem bored. So you're right. Murder is the biggest crime, but that's also, it's the rarest. We don't need it. I don't know.
We don't need murder.
We don't need it, but we also don't need you guys to be so hyper-focused on eradicating it that you, on a daily fucking basis, harass the entire population for the good that you're doing. Oh, it's so good. And what else was I going to say about that? And immediately take away the ability for a person to defend themselves. The Halo is so confusing. Like, why can that person not be cognizant anymore? Why not? Like, Is it? I bet it's because it would fuck with the people who are taking them captive.
Yes, I think. They never explain why.
Ever.
They don't explain. Is this just a punishment for people who are guilty of pre-crime, or is this what we do to all prisoners?
Right.
I could almost see it as like, this is what we do to all prisoners now. It is so much cheaper and easier.
And that's what I was asking. But it just doesn't make sense. If someone who did a crime where they're going to eventually get out, why would you halo someone? They can't speak on their behalf. They can't talk to an attorney. They can't serve time. They can't show that they're like have good behavior and good qualities that should get them out on some sort of appeal of whatever that process is. It's like, you're just shutting us down and we're just going to reboot exactly who we were. How does that prove to you I'm any different from the person you put in this thing?
I mean, the point of speculative fiction like this is to make you take a look at the way you live right now. And it's like, we put people in prison. I mean, in a way, this is more humane because you don't have to go through the trauma of being in prison.
But at least you have the hope of getting out, and then you can rebuild some kind of life, even if it is in prison.
And I don't know if, right, you're right. I don't know if these people are going to get out one day, but it's like, we make people serve life sentences for murder when in the most of the time they will probably have never actually murdered again. Right. Like, if you make a mistake and kill somebody, at 19 years old, does that mean you need to spend the next 85 years in prison? And this is kind of a neat way of looking at it. Like, we're not literally freezing somebody for life, but we kind of are.
I mean, it goes to the whole kind of MO of the movie. They're not getting rid of the bad parts of life. They are making it easier for the people in power and the people with money to pretend it's not there anymore. Like, you don't see prisoners, you don't hear them, you don't see a trial, you don't have to see their faces. They are immediately haloed. We don't need their story. We need them to be gone and out of sight, out of mind. And with the precogs, the highest level of security clearance government official still had trouble to see and actually go into the room with the precogs. So like, the people who are there sacrificing their life to make y'all's life more enjoyable, you'll never see them. We made a statue of them. They're basically gods. They're living their glory. They're famous, but you'll never see them. Right.
That tour guide with the school children is literally telling them lies. And so the government has lies that it's telling people about what the precogs' lives are like. So they're also probably lying about what it's like to get haloed.
Yeah.
And what happens to you when you're in prison.
Except for that guy that was like, don't halo me. Like, so they have some idea of what it is.
You're very scared of it, but yeah.
Yeah.
So he goes to, she says, here's how you find the Minority Report. It's inside Agatha. You need to go get Agatha. And he's like, how am I going to get to Agatha? She's like, you're smart. You'll figure out a way. His way is, I'll go get me some new eyes. So he goes to the crazy eye doctor, played by Peter Stormare.
He's something.
And Peter Stormare.
You just have a knack for putting the wrong pictures on the screen for me.
But isn't it the disgusting moldy sandwich? Is it not the most memorable image of the movie?
No.
He goes to Peter Stormare, who's this disgraced plastic surgeon who Tom Cruise once arrested, but Tom Cruise doesn't remember him. Yep. He gives him some drugs, and as Tom Cruise is starting to get hopped up on goofballs, Peter Stormare's like, you don't remember me, do you? And he's like, did I arrest you? I love it. I love him in this scene. And so he's going to go under and get him some new eyes. But don't take these bandages off your eyes for 12 hours or else you'll go blind. Which always scared the hell out of me because he takes the bandages off after 6.
But this is another great example, right? Like, you can use your techniques to get us out of your life, but we're not gone. See, you ended up in a situation, Tom Cruise, where you needed me. You already ousted me. Your methods of cleaning up the place, I just found a new place to do it. And it affects people that are less fortunate than you. So I might be doing more harm right now, or I'm doing good, but I'm not gone. And you can't just like shove me away somewhere.
Right, because you didn't do anything to address the reason people have a need for people like me.
Right, exactly. People are removing their fucking eyeballs because of what you created. You created an unimaginable problems And that's the whole thing with Jurassic Park, right? Like, you can really be driven by something and really, really want to see what it's like to have a real dinosaur, and you can accomplish that. But what did you do to the world? Chris Pratt? No.
And we finally meet Tom Cruise's wife, Anderton's ex-wife, Laura, for the first time.
We don't want to talk about the spiders. I feel like they're kind of...
No, that's coming up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Catherine Morris, who's I think is very good in this movie, and I think that Spielberg does kind of have a problem of boring wives in his movies.
He does.
I think Amy Ryan in Bridge of Spies and Sarah Paulson in The Post especially are like, my Tom Hanks husband, he's just always doing important things and I'm just making sandwiches. But the wife here, the ex-wife here, like actually has a vital and active role to play at the end of the movie, which I like.
This is one of those things that once you point it out, I won't be able to unsee this.
What? Oh, the boring wife?
The boring wife
yeah.
thing.
Okay, the spiders. Tell us about the spiders. All
right, so I cannot remember how they narrowed it down. They're still looking for John Anderton. And this is crazy. They don't usually lose their man because John Anderton's the one that finds the pre-murderers. So, but they don't have him. They just have B and C, their second and third best guys on the job. And this motherfucker keeps getting away. So they're like pulling out all the stops. They have to get him in. Otherwise it blows the whole thing apart. Like, okay, you can predict the criminal, but you can't catch him. What good is that? Mm-hmm. Anyway, do you know why they realized a certain apartment building is the place they need to search?
I don't remember. I don't know if they're literally casing every building and this is just one of many.
Maybe.
Because the cops, Neil McDonough is one of the cops. I think his name is Fletch. And then there's the other meaner cop who's like wants to get this building out of the way so they can go eat.
Yeah.
And he just keeps saying, I'm hungry. And then the spiders do their job and he's like, let's eat.
Okay.
So I think they're just casing.
He's going through the sprawl.
Yeah.
Right. Which is just their word for the people we're not protecting. And these spiders they're just eye scanners. They look like Discman they look like if Tim Burton made a Discman. They're just like spindly spiders. And then they're little clicking around.
Spiders.
But they're clearly such their whole job is they can go under your door and all they need to do is scan your eyes and you're out of there. But it's such a big part of the life. That everyone's like, no one's even surprised by them entering their apartment and they just go back to their job.
It's so routine that like parents have a thing with their kids, but everybody's still scared of it.
Yeah.
Like the mom has to be like, it's okay. Just look, just open your eyes. It's okay. And like these spiders, but they're not benign. Like if you don't cooperate, they'll zap you. They will forcibly walk up your body and open your eye. But this is such a normal part of life. And like, yeah, we've all invited.
This is the price of no murder. That's what I'm saying. They get such a morally superior sounding thing that you can fold in so much abuse because of it.
Yeah, that's how police states start.
Thank you.
I was. You're welcome.
Okay, thank you. Okay. So they have a warm body sensor. So if the amount of eyes scanned does not correlate to the amount of bodies they know to be in the building, then they have to get they have to make sure they get every body. So this is singling out John Anderton, who is like in an apartment recovering from his eye transplant. So before the 12 hours is up, he just takes the eye scan, he lifts the bandage, and I'll just have one good working eye. I don't think anything actually ends up happening.
No, I mean, he to hide, he throws a ice chest full of ice into a bathtub and tries to stay underwater as long as he can.
Yeah.
And it nearly works, but one of the spiders hears a bubble burst. So it goes and it shocks the water and forces him out and forces the bandage off of his eye and scans his eye. And then they're like, okay, it's not him. So they all leave.
Okay.
And I don't know does this mean this eye just won't work for the rest of the movie?
They don't address it.
But it's not addressed.
But just in the nick of time, they're about to barge into this apartment, and there you go, eye scan. So your technology just worked against you, my man.
But this is, in terms of just thrilling filmmaking, like it doesn't get better than this. This is so fucking suspenseful. And John Williams' score is so fucking cool.
Is it John Williams in this too?
Yes.
He doesn't miss.
It actually sounds a lot like, it kind of sounds maybe too much like The Empire Strikes Back, but I love it.
He looks fucking crazy. Tom Cruise is good at looking just deranged after a certain point. When he needs to. Vanilla Sky, especially.
Oh yeah.
And so this is very Vanilla Sky. This thing that they do to his face. Is this CGI? What am I looking at?
Yeah, it's CGI.
Or prosthetics. Okay. Go on now, Matt.
Lacey was looking at a picture of Tom Cruise when he injects this thing that makes his face go all putty and nobody can recognize him, even though he looks just like Tom Cruise, but with some pud. So he's going to break into the pre-crime building and he's about to do it. He's saved his old eyes. He's got new eyes, but he's like, let me keep my old eyes because I might need them. He needs his old eyes to get into the pre-crime building, but he drops them and they fall down a ramp and he only catches one of them as it's falling into the sewer. This fucking stresses me the hell out. And I finally dropped my AirPod down the sink drain yesterday and I'm still depressed about it.
Wildly in this heavily impossibly surveilled place and the most surveilled building, he actually freaking pulls it off, gets all the way to the precog. Only John Anderton could have done this. He just rips that biatch right out of the water and on they go.
Well, they're closing in on him. He's gotten into the tank with Agatha and he's like, I know how I'll escape. I'll pull the giant switch that's right here next to the tank that just opens up a giant human-sized hole and we'll just jump down the drain. Why is that switch right there?
Yeah, you could.
What do they need that for?
Anyone could have. Well, I guess they got to clean the water and they want to clean it fast because they got to get the water right back up on them.
But it's right there. Yeah, and he just, what's he doing? No! And he just goes down the drain with her. And the next time we see them, they're like in a car.
Not even wet.
That led right to the car. But they're like, holy shit, without Agatha, we can't predict murder. So now, oh my God,
Murder
we're
time.
offline. It's Murder City. It's the Purge, as Lacey said. But, Samantha Morton plays Agatha, and I think she looms so large in my memory of this movie that watching it this time, I was surprised that she doesn't really figure until 90 minutes into the movie. I remembered it as being mostly being Tom Cruise and Samantha Morton like on the road together, but it's not. But I really love her. I really love this performance. She's so good at playing just scared and confused and overwhelmed by time, by everything happening everywhere all at once. Right.
By her actually experiencing life outside of that water tank.
But also not being able to place herself in time because she says, is it now?
Is it now? Right. She's like the first time she's getting to experience current timeline.
But as we see, once things settle down for her, she's pretty chill. It's okay. We are not doing her a service by forcing her to live a life of slavery in a tank.
Right. Again, all of it's just for the people who want what they want. It's all just to get them out of their sight.
We go to Rufus T. Riley's Pleasure Dome VR Palace, like a Ready Player One Oasis type thing. And this guy helped Anderton build his computer system. And he's like, we got to hack into this precog's mind. So they do.
He's like, okay, I got a couple ideas.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, he's really good.
He's a computer genius, but not a body genius. But all right, then.
Plugs into her and he's like, all right, well, display her brain on this nifty little TV. And they do, and they record and they see, Tom Cruise is like, oh, here comes my Minority Report. Can't wait to see how I'm totally innocent. Wait a minute. That's just me shooting him. That's me shooting him dead. What the fuck? And then he shouts at Agatha. I mean, he does. He's like, where's my Minority Report?
He said it.
Do I even have one? And she's like, no.
I just wanted you to get me out of that tank.
But then she says, can you see? And then she projects on screen the Anne Lively murder again. It's like, this is significant somehow. Well, the cops arrive and they have to run away through them all. But Agatha now, because she has the power of foresight, she knows every move they need to make to disguise themselves from the cops.
Yes, I do like that scene.
Get the umbrella, stand in front of the balloons, give that man some coins. This leads all to the federal housing building where the murder will take place, where Leo Crow lives. And we see that the man in the sunglasses is a floating billboard. We see the creepy old woman smoking the pipe and laughing.
That's the most like John Lynch?
David Lynch
thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, kind of.
No, completely.
He bursts into this apartment and finds this apartment that is very neatly staged with hundreds of photos of children. But what's that? In one of them, it's Leo Crow with my child, Sean. And Anderton realizes this man killed my son or abducted my son or whatever. I am going to kill him. And then Crow comes in. He's like, I'm going to kill you, Crow. Is my son alive? No. I killed him. I drowned him in the Botany Bay.
I was so gentle.
Yeah.
Ugh. God.
And he's about to, goodbye, Crow. And Agatha's
Goodbye.
screaming, you don't have to do this. Please don't do this. She is so disturbed by murder.
Yeah.
More than a normal person. She's upset by the metaphysics of the universe of murder. And she keeps saying, you will do it. You can make a choice. And then we see the most difficult decision he ever makes. It's like, you have the right to remain silent. He's going to arrest him. Holy shit. He chose.
Done it.
He did not choose violence. He chooses law and
He must
order.
have got himself a popper because he seems so chill.
And why do you keep saying popper?
I don't know. They pop.
That's yeah. You sound like you're familiar with Neuroin and Neuroin
Because
culture.
they call them poppers.
Do they?
I think so. Or huffers. There's some kind of cute name.
You don't go do some huffers?
Why are you a Cockney boy?
Oh, down the old chimney with some huffers,
I
won't
think
you?
whiffers?
I
Sniffers. Whatever. Poppers.
Whiffer sniffers.
Party poppers.
Yeah, you have the right to remain silent. And he's like, you're not going to kill me? And then very quickly he explains everything very
Right.
fast. See, I was paid. Your stage. Never met your son. Sorry. Told me if I pretended I killed your son that my family would be fine. I was in
taken
prison.
care of.
They took me out of prison. Who did that to you? I don't know. I never saw his face.
So I'm looking for a faceless man.
And then the Crow like makes Tom Cruise shoot him, which is a little convenient, and shoot him in a way that kind of matches the vision, but not really.
Mm-hmm.
So, but like, how exactly did Max Von Sydow arrange all of this? Like, at what point does he needed to go hire Leo Crow to do this?
Well, I mean, what else is he doing? He's got him running the show. All he had to do was constantly be thinking of when this all hits the fan and I'm in trouble. I need to know what guy I'm pulling out of a halo. I need to know why I'm doing it. I need to Photoshop some pictures here. I need to rent a space. I just think he had the plan.
The plan came together so fucking
He's
fast.
been thinking of it for a long time.
But I guess he already had done this to Anne Lively, so he knows what to do, and
Right.
it worked so well before. I'll just do it again. But at what point is it just literally the idea pops into his head, and then that's when the idea ball comes out that says that Anderton's going to kill this guy? Like, at what point does intention turn into a precognition? It's something to ponder. I know it doesn't interest you.
No, I just don't understand what you're saying, and I don't want you to explain it. So no, I guess it doesn't interest me. Great point.
But it's good. It's good that like you have sort of the resolution of one version of Anderton's journey, which is, I'm going to choose not to kill you, even though I believe you killed my son. Okay, so that's resolved. But then he learns about this whole other thing. No, it's a plot. It's a conspiracy. So he has to like ingest all of that. And meanwhile, so they flee, and now Colin Farrell arrives. And Colin Farrell, we're like, he's just some fucking Department of Justice flack. But no, he was also a damn good homicide investigator in his day. And he's putting on his detective hat. And he's like, this evidence is clearly staged. I've never seen so much clear evidence in one spot. It's
what
insane.
Pedophile just dumps out other photos and goes, yay!
Yeah.
And they're all face up.
Yep.
That's not how photos act.
Right.
And the one of his son is right on top.
But like you're saying with like, is Tom Cruise even a cop? Like the guys who work for him, they're like, oh, okay. Like they don't know how to investigate anything because they've never had to investigate
precogs do
anything.
it. Right.
So it's like, no, but like the evidence is right there. Good. We got this. Like done. Case closed.
Yeah. They want a magic they don't want to be burdened anymore with the criminal justice system and with deciding, are they putting an innocent man away? They're like, nope, let's just erase all of that. That bald child said that you're going to murder.
Yes.
So put you in the halo. Zip.
Which is, and this is when I really, really start to love Colin Farrell in this movie, because he has been so unlikable the whole time. But I love an unlikable piece of shit who turns out to be like doing the right thing for the right reasons. And as he figures everything out, he's like, I've got it. I'll take all my findings to Max Von Sydow, the man I can definitely trust. And he gives this speech and he's like, look, watch this recording. See the water? The water's moving in a different direction.
I would have never
This
fucking
murder
noticed that.
happens at a different time. And he is so proud of his police work.
I mean, he is, but like the wind changes, my man. Like winds change, but fine.
But it's two videos that
You
are supposed to be
nailed it.
the exact same time.
Fine.
He says all of this to Max Von Sydow. Max Von Sydow's like, Danny, shush, 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 shush. Do you know what I hear? Nothing. No hovercrafts. No click-click-clack of the little spiders.
Okay. Stop.
Because right now, the precogs, they see nothing. And then he shoots him dead.
Danny.
And Colin Farrell, as he falls to his death, looks a little amused. Like, you son of a bitch.
Get me. I always wanted to die in your arms.
Anderson goes to his ex-wife's house, and they tramp around this massive lakeside villa, and he's like, I'm so sad about our son being dead and all that.
Why are you doing it like that?
And she's like, yeah, God. I know, but, we got to figure out this thing where you're on the run from the law. And he's like, yeah, okay. And he's like, oh, you know what? I think this all started because I figured out the Anne Lively thing. I think Anne Lively is Agatha's mother. That must be it. So he goes to ask Agatha, but Agatha's too busy talking about Sean's alternate future where he lived. So it's like the precogs do see alternate futures.
Yeah.
That's also disturbing. It's like, wait, we have no idea what we're looking at with you guys.
You guys need to sit still.
But she says, like, your son Sean, there was so much love in this house. He's running. He's always running. He's a vet. He's in college. He makes love to a pretty girl named Claire. There's so much love in this house. But John, and she's whispering, John, there's so much love in this house, but I'm so sorry. You're going to need to run. Huh? And the cops come. They burst in. They're like 50 cops.
They work for the fucking window company. They're just like, fuck your windows. These look old.
Looking for windows to burst through.
The walls are hard to burst through, to be fair.
And they surround Tom Cruise, and I like, he's still trying to figure out how to run. And one of them's like, no.
He's real good at running.
One of them says, no talking. Because, like, you're Tom Cruise. I know what you're going to do. You're going to say a bunch of charming stuff and then figure out, just no talking. Halo. They halo him.
Yeah.
And they halo him and say, you're under arrest for the murder of Leo Crow and Danny Whitwer. And that's the last thing he hears as he goes under. So scary.
I did not do.
And then we're basically at the last stretch of the movie. What happens, Lacey?
Zaddy Grandpa is going to, I think, some sort of award ceremony. I think he's getting honored for something.
Pre-crime is now going national.
Oh,
and he's going to be in charge of it. Yes. At the big crime exchange.
Ah, yes. Mama, I don't remember, my love.
All right. Well, Tom Cruise, he gets put under, and Gideon, though he doesn't explain what happened to, he's like, they say it's a rush. All your dreams come true, which is horrifying. And
who's saying that? Who's coming back?
Right. But people have to be coming back. Yeah. There's this Star Trek episode where I think it's on Deep Space Nine. Sorry, Star Trek people. Where there's like a form of prison where you get sent to a prison, but it's just a hallucination, and time passes for you there in real time. Like you're sentenced to 20 years, so you will experience 20 years of time. But then when it's done, they pull you out, and only 1 second of time in the real world has passed. And that's fucked up to think about.
God, I said fucked up to think about.
But it's also
everybody else is just like, what's your problem?
Yeah.
Why are you acting all weathered and wise and shit?
But also, like, I guess.
How'd you get these tattoos around your eyeballs? How's that?
But isn't that like more humane because it means your family doesn't have to experience the physical loss of you, just the emotional trauma you're going to have to carry around with you?
It's like war, right? I mean, they don't really experience war either, and you come back as a vet and you're forever changed because you saw her atrocities that you can't explain, and you're weathered even though they're like becoming the president of the United States. Like they leave 20 years older. They don't leave 4 years older or 8 years. I guess it's like, yeah, I think it's a valid way to serve your time, but maybe it should be optional.
I just think like, I'm not a fan of prison, but like to me, if you have to do something to somebody, make them wear a fucking ankle bracelet and make them stay home, unless it's domestic violence. But like,
oh, it'll turn into that.
Oh,
you think 20 years of being on an ankle bracelet doesn't make you mean?
I love Max Von Sydow, Lamar Burgess. He's getting dressed for the big gala tonight because it's the big moment of triumph for him in his career. His life's work has been leading to this. And she says, Laura comes to visit him, and she says,
that's his daughter for some fucking reason.
Hey, I thought you were retiring. And he's like, well, I was going to, but I think the nation needs me, which is what all these old fucks do. They just cling to power forever. And he accidentally lets slip that he knows that Anne Lively drowns, and she didn't mention anything about her drowning because she's like, who's Anne Lively? Tom Cruise was talking about her right before he got haloed. And yeah, Max von Sydow lets slip that she drowns, and this makes Laura suspicious, and Lamar knows that she knows, and she knows that he knows that she knows, and he gives her the most scary stare, and he's like, we'll talk about this later. Perhaps tomorrow I'll come to the cottage.
All the windows are busted out. Bring
It's not a good time.
Bring trash bags and blankets.
It's not a good time.
It's winter.
Can we meet at a Starbucks?
Right.
Yeah, but he leaves the office and there's a box of evidence of her husband's, including his eyeball. So she's like, oh, okay. And she uses that to go sneak down to Tim Blake Nelson. She's like, I need to talk to my husband. So she busts John out, and together they hatch this plan to play the footage, see what happened. Is Lamar Burgess actually killed Anne Lively? And the way he did it was Anne Lively, former drug addict mother of Agatha, now says, I've gotten my act together. Can I please have my daughter? And he's like, no, that will ruin everything. So he hires somebody to kill her. And then when he sees the vision of how she'll be killed, he hires somebody to do that. And then when that guy gets caught and then the cops leave the woman still there at the scene, once they're all gone, he goes and kills her for real, but in the exact same way. And they have footage of this that they got from Samantha Morton, and they play it, and everybody at the party sees it and they're like, oh my God, murder.
It's like, it would just, in this kind of technological world, I think it would take a lot more for them to be like convinced of what they're seeing on the screen. But yeah, it's like any amazing comeuppance ending. It's like,
people in movies are very
I
quick.
killed the teen queen. Get over it. I killed the teen queen. I'm sorry, seeing Jawbreaker. And it is like job. Yes,
they
just record her on the little. I killed the teen dream. The teen dream. Get over it. And then you bitch.
I remember on the Jawbreaker episode making this comparison to Batman Returns when they play Oswald Cobblepot, and everybody's like, "What'd you say about Gotham City?"
Poor Oswald. He already had a bad life.
He did. He's just doing his best.
He loves fish.
Yeah. So finally, Tom Cruise confronts his mentor, and he's like, "You can kill me, but if you do, you'll prove that free crime works. But then it'll be undermined because you're the boss and you killed somebody or something." I don't know.
He says something clever. He's like, you really put me into a pickle.
So he kills himself instead. But then there's some very convenient voiceover. So I think
that was the day I killed myself.
That was the moment I knew it was over. Death had come for me.
Okay, go on.
I feel like we've not been clear on what happens right here.
I don't think we've been clear on much of this movie. There's so much about it. I don't think this is a movie that you just listen to cold. You'd have to have seen it.
I know. I think we're usually pretty good at explaining movies for people who haven't seen them.
I do too. And there's something about this movie that is so interesting to think about, which is what makes it so good, that keeps leading us astray and like going big brain on it.
But it is also like super plotty because it's like a noir. It's a neo-noir with all kinds of twists and turns.
Action, sci-fi, whodunit. It's a lot of movies in one without it seeming like a hodgepodge, which is hard to do.
The other thing that Spielberg starts to get bad at this point in his career is he always ends his movies like 2 minutes later than he should. It's like there's always like, scene. Oh, this is a perfect way to end the movie, and then he's like,
right,
one more.
I want Laura to get pregnant with a baby.
Right. It's like when your kid like starts to realize they're funny, but then says one joke too many.
No. It's like when your kid's not funny, but then they land on something that is funny. You laugh, and then they just keep fucking saying it.
Yeah.
Like,
okay. There you go.
You stop.
Here, Tom Cruise suddenly has narration in the movie. He's like, the pre-crime experiment ended in 2054.
Now I'm just a fucking cop.
Here I am with my wife. She's giant pregnant. We're super happy. Look at us watching the rain. The precogs, they were moved to an undisclosed location where they could explore their gifts.
Yes, they ruined it. I didn't need to know what they were going to do. They're just in this remote fucking cottage or cabin. And Agatha does not look happy with her pile of books. Like she's just, I guess I'm reading the rest of my fucking life.
Yeah.
What?
And that's their gifts. Their gifts are I can read now.
I can read pretty good.
Hey, I bet I know how this book ends.
Oh, you're right. How boring.
But they're a hive mind, so they're all reading what each other's reading.
Oh, God. She needs to read the book backwards. I bet I can guess how this starts.
I guess the rationale was like, Samantha Morton's performance is so powerful. We've really invested in this character. We want to know that she's okay.
She doesn't look okay. That's my problem. The problem is they don't sell that, but maybe that makes it more realistic.
And then there's just a weird shot of the camera pulling out of the cottage as she reads, and then weird helicopter shot of the cottage, and that's where the movie ends. It's interesting that hers is the last face we see in the movie, not Tom Cruise. But yeah, it's like this ending's really, really bad. But I love this movie. It's like it's like the one thing I don't really like about the movie. But yeah.
All right.